Tiger Tales.
Tiger Tales presents My Teacher Glows in the Dark by Bruce Coville, read by Mrs. Griffith.
Hello, welcome back to My Teacher Glows in the Dark, Chapter 7, Lunch with Fleef and Gurk. Now remember, he just stepped into a fight. We'll just see what kind of fight that is. It was a bad idea from the beginning, said an alien who looked something like a tall brown pickle with arms. Nonsense, snapped an orange alien standing next to him. A few hours wouldn't have made the slightest a difference to those creatures. The second alien was only a little taller than me and clearly female, at least by Earth standards. Though her skin was orange, her features were basically human. Well, except for the fact that she had a thick green stalk rising out of the top of her head. The stalk ended in a thick knob, which I took to be a sense organ of some sort, since it was constantly rotating. Every once in a while it would stop moving and go, neep, neep. Ah, look, cried the orange alien when she noticed me standing there. We can ask him. It might be nice if we greeted him first, said the pickle. Flog me for an oath, cried the orange one. I just get too excited sometimes. Turning to me, she said, You are the Earth Child, are you not? Her voice was sweet and gentle. I used to be, I replied. Now I am the child of the stars. The orange alien nudged the pickle. What did I tell you, Gurk? It doesn't matter. Gurk squeezed one of the warty things that covered his pickly skin. It popped, releasing a terrible smell. My implant told me this was his way of saying nonsense. Ew, cried the orange alien. I told you not to do that. The stalk on the top of her head flopped backwards. Neep, it whispered. Nee. I looked at the alien in alarm, worried that the knob might be permanently disabled or even dead. But she seemed more annoyed than concerned. Gurk put his hands on the top of his head, which was a gesture of apology. Sorry I got carried away, but I still think you're mistaken. Let's start this conversation over, or we'll give the young one a bad impression. He turned to me. I got ready to hold my breath in case he was going to communicate by smell again. But his voice was quiet, and when I looked at him more carefully, I realized that he had the kindest, warmest eyes I had ever seen. Putting his skinny arms together in front of him, he said, Young one, my name is Gurk. My companion is called Fleef. Greetings, said Fleef, who was trying to get the stalk on her head to stand up again. Greetings, I replied. They both looked at me expectantly. And your name? Asked Gurk after a moment of silence. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is... I hesitated. Was I Peter Thompson or was I Krepta? The aliens were staring at me. I had a sense that they were beginning to wonder if I was stupid. My name is Krepta, I said diffidently. And as I said it, I felt something twist inside me. I had to let go of my name and my home, and though I had a new name and a new home, neither one of them felt like they were really mine. I wondered if they ever would, I almost said. Wait, I made a mistake. My name is Peter. But that would have been a lie. I wasn't Peter anymore. Hulan had been right. I was the boy without a planet, and the name I had carried away from Earth no longer fit me. Krepta, said Gurk in surprise. A child of the stars indeed. And what happened to the name you were born with? I'm a different person now, I said softly. Well, Krepta, said Fleef, come and sit with us while we eat. Perhaps you can help us settle a disagreement. I wasn't sure if I wanted to eat with the two of them. Still, if I was going to get along on the ship, I did need to start making friends. I'll be glad to eat with you, I said, hoping neither one of them was going to eat something so gross that I would get sick just watching them swallow it. Are you touchable? Asked Gurk. I raised an eyebrow. His translator must have interpreted the movement because he answered the question before I could put it into words. Some beings like to be touched. Others are deeply offended by certain kinds of contact, he explained, his wonderful eyes looking straight into mine. If touch does not bother you, then I would put my arm around your shoulder or place a hand on the back of your neck to guide you to the sitting place. But if it is best to ask first. I hesitated. My father wasn't much of a hugger, so the only person who had touched me back home was Duncan Dougal, and that was the only to punch me. Since I wasn't used to it, I was a little nervous about having Gurk touch me, especially with that pickly skin of his. On the other hand, this was a new world, a new life. It's okay, I said. You can touch me. I thought about adding something about being careful where he touched me, but it had been so worried about offending me and all, I decided it wasn't going to be a problem. Besides, even though I hadn't gone 3 steps past the elevator, I could see a whole room full of people just beyond Fleef and Gurk, so I figured I was safe for the time being, at least as safe as a kid can be in a room where he's the only person who looks more than vaguely human. Taking me by the arm, Gurk led me to a table at the edge of the room. There are many beings interested in you, he whispered, so there's no need to draw too much attention to yourself right now. For once we agree, said Fleef. Neep, said the thing on the top of her head. I noticed the stalk was standing straight up again. I also noticed that the room was sort of dim. I was a little puzzled about this until I decided they'd probably set the light at a level most comfortable for the greatest number of beings. Where do we get our food? I asked. Right here, said Fleef, gesturing to the table. The table was round with a smooth black top. In front of each of us was a set of buttons, much like the ones by the transcendental elevators. Do we use these to order? I asked, pointing to the buttons. See, I told you they weren't stupid, said Gurk. Intelligence and emotion are not always connected, replied Fleef. Her orange skin grew darker as she spoke, which my translator informed me was a sign that she was irritated. Could you tell me what this was all about? I asked, trying not to sound anything like was going on to offend either one of them. Later, said Gurk. First, let's order. Have you programmed in any meals yet? I shook my head, trusting Gurk's implant to translate the gesture. All right, then we'll have to show you how. You're a carbon-based life form, if I remember correctly. I nodded, wondering what they would feed me if I wasn't. All right. First, you punch in your personal code. But I don't have a personal code, I interrupted. Gurk, said Fleet gently, let me show him how. Gurk slid some warts around, which was his way of sighing, and sat back in the chair while Fleef showed him how to find my personal code. Then she helped me tell the master computer the kinds of things I would like to eat. It took a while because the food synthesizer wasn't programmed for an Earthling. But by asking careful questions, she was able to help me come up with a menu that we both felt would A, not kill me, and B, not make me throw up. We all punched in the code for our meals at the same time. Within seconds, a hole opened in the top of the table. 3 plates floated out and positioned themselves in front of us. Gurk's plate had a steaming, writhing mess of something that looked like it wanted to crawl across the table and say hello to me. Fleef's dinner looked like blue marbles and smelled like rotten eggs mixed with toe jam. The stuff on my plate actually looked pretty good. That was because Fleef had showed me how to program color and shape into my order. While it didn't taste quite as good as it looked, at least most of it was edible. The only thing I couldn't get down was the stuff that looked like French fries, but tasted like peanut butter mixed with rotten blueberries. While we ate, Fleef told me how to refine my next order based on what I did and didn't like in this batch of stuff. She was a good teacher, and I was starting to like her. After we had all had a bite to eat, Gurk said, here's the question we were arguing about when you stepped out of the elevator. What would happen if... Before he could finish, the lights blinked 3 times. Better lie down, Krepta, said Fleef, throwing herself on the floor. You'll be less likely to throw up that way. And that was the end of chapter 7. I hope you have a good night.